When filling a crack with repair resin, it is the end of the crack that gives the technician the most trouble. The end of the crack is the tightest part of the crack and requires a moderate amount of finesse to properly fill with repair resin. First, the stress must be relieved from the very end of the crack. This is done by creating a miniature bullseye just beyond the end of the crack. The miniature bullseye should be made about 1/8 of an inch beyond the end of the crack and exactly in the center of the projected path of the crack. You may now drill to a depth of about 1 millimeter or halfway to the center of the windshield. Insert the needle into the drilled hole. Hold the needle perpendicular to the glass and gently strike the top of the needle with a tappet. A miniature bullseye should be easily made with this procedure. If not, strike the needle again with equal, not greater force. If this second attempt fails, drill the hole just a hair's depth more and repeat the process. We suggest you practice this procedure before attempting a long crack repair. Note, if you drill too deep into the glass, you may find it impossible to create a miniature bullseye. It's always better to be on the light side of the desired depth. It will be necessary to run the end of the crack into the freshly made miniature bullseye. Apply light pressure to the inside glass layer. The crack should run into the center of the bullseye. The end of the crack will have little or no stress and will fill easier than the conventional method of simply drilling the end of the crack almost all the way down to the plastic inner layer. It is time to prepare the equipment for the repair. Setup for crack repair is slightly different than routine rock chip repair. The injector has to glide over the glass. The suction cup of the bridge should be treated with petroleum jelly or Vaseline, and then smear the Vaseline alongside of the crack, the width of the suction cup, being careful not to get any Vaseline into the crack you are attempting to repair. Set the bridge assembly on the glass. Move the bridge assembly so it glides along the glass. Place the injector directly over the miniature bullseye and tighten, just as it is done in routine rock chip repair. Insert the repair resin C into the injector. Screw in plunger and pressurize. The use of the crack expander is beneficial in allowing the resin to flow into the crack. Attach the expander to the inside of the windshield at least 2 inches away from the end of the crack. The expander should be moved at least 2 or 3 times along the crack following the repair bridge. When the bullseye is completely filled with resin, glide the assembly along the crack and look for the crack to start filling with resin. Once the end of the crack begins to fill, the injector assembly may be moved further down the crack, making certain to never get ahead of the flowing resin. Note, it is important to remember that the first 2 or 3 inches of the crack repair are the most time-consuming and require the most patience. In some instances, the first 2 or 3 inches of the crack must be gone over until completely filled with the repair resin. The first 2 or 3 inches of the crack repair may take up to 75% of the total time needed for a successful crack repair. Once past the first 2 or 3 inches of the crack repair and the resin flows freely ahead of the injector, make sure that the injector is pressurized, completely filling the crack with repair resin. Suggestion: it is recommended to apply a couple of drops of resin to a piece of plastic cure film and place behind the repair bridge as the crack is filled with repair resin. This inhibits air from entering the areas already filled with resin and could save considerable repair time and disappointment. Once the crack is filled with resin, it is time to cure the repair. When the crack repair is fully cured, remove the plastic film strips and scrape the area clean of excess resin.